We're at the intersection of Potosi Canyon Road and Highway 160. And we're going to take another shot at Potosi Mountain summit from this location. So what I'm going to do today is head up Potosi Canyon Road and for about 5 miles to Potecy Spring, and then take at Potecy Spring, ascend to the base of this huge cliff line you'll see in a moment, and take that cliff line toward the summit. Don't know how far I'm going to get, but I'm going to get as far as I can. Here we go. A piece of the cliff line that I'll be skirting, and here you see the summit. There's the communication towers on the summit of Potosi Mountain. And then this is the cliff line I'll be skirting. I'll be on top of this cliff line, provided I get all the way to the summit. All the way down to where it takes a turn, and I'll show you that turn in a moment. For now, we're on Potosi Canyon Road. There's a wider shot there of the cliff line. The first section of Potosi Canyon Road is an incline of about 1,200 feet. It rises very rapidly, and here you can see, looking down direction I just came, it rises up to Potosi Pass, and that's 1,200 feet, and then descends about 700 feet to Potecy Spring. At Potecy Spring, that's where I'm going to catch the base of this cliff line, ascend that cliff line, and begin to skirt the top of the cliff line. It's going to be an awesome view. In all, from my beginning point, it's about 3,500 feet, and if ascent, elevation gain, and if you count the extra 1,400 feet of elevation gain and loss from Potosi Canyon Road, we're looking at close to 5,000 feet overall elevation gain before the day's out, and about 20 miles in distance. So now we'll see how it goes. Here we go. Okay, we are getting ready to enter the Spring Mountains National Recreation Area. Here's the sign. And by the way, that sign that we just passed about the firewood. Yeah, on this day, there's ample firewood for anyone who's camping here, if you got a collection permit. And I think that a good reason for some of this firewood is that it's to create fire breaks. So there's a lot of firewood lying around, at least today. It may be gone when you're here, but anyway, that could be helpful if you're camping. Okay, continuing on up toward Potosi Pass. Summit of Potosi Pass, we've ascended about 1,100 feet from Highway 160, and now it's time to descend about 700 feet. Here's a look back to what we just ascended, and then looking around, let's take a look at that cliff line. The continuing view of the cliff line has now opened up. This is the cliff line beyond what we saw just a moment ago. And what we're going to do now is descend about 700 feet to the beginning of this cliff line. Let's see if we can get a better view of the cliff line. You can see it in the rising sun here. And so this point is the point that we saw in the last video, and then you couldn't see because it was going around the corner to this area. So you can see the cliff line. Imagine the view while ascending that cliff line. We're going to see some of that, hopefully a lot of it, but no promises. We don't know. Anyway, we're going down to Potecy Spring, about 700 feet down, and that's where we're going to catch the beginning of the cliff line and then begin to ascend. And we'll just see how far we get. Of course, I want to time it so that I'm not on the cliff line on that ridge when it's dark this evening. That's not a good place to be in the dark, unless there's really good moonlight, which I had on La Madre Mountain. I was very fortunate that night when I spent the last couple hours through the wilderness and back to my car in the dark, except a great moonlight. So anyway, yes, there is the beginning of the cliff line. We're going to ascend as soon as we can, and then begin to skirt that cliff line up toward Potosi Mountain summit and see how far we get. Okay, here we go. We're at the Potassium Spring area now, and here is an interpretive sign for Potosi Mine. It says it was originally located in April 1856, when a Paiute Indian showed Mormon miners where heavy rock could be found. The Potosi Mine is the oldest in southern Nevada, opened under the direction of Nathaniel V. Jones, operated until January 1857, when the first effort ended. The lead was too brittle for bullets due to the high zinc and silver content. By 1861, the mine was being worked by the Colorado Mining Company, but this also lasted only a few years. With the early 20th century mining boom in the Good Springs area, the Potusi was reopened. In 1913, the Empire Zinc Company bought the mine, building an aerial tram and baby gauge railroad to the site. By 1915, the Potosi Mine was the largest zinc producer in Nevada, in addition to significant amounts of lead and silver. Production ended around 1930. And so, yeah, maybe we'll see evidence of the aerial tram and the baby gauge railroad. We'll look as we ascend these cliffs, but we need to circumvent this intervening ridge. And I'm on Potacy Spring Road now, and this is going to take me around the ridge, and then we'll look for a way up to the main ridge line. Here's a 360 degree little A-frame, and I believe that's for sale at this point, so not occupied. And I may not be the only one on this route, curiously enough. Okay, so onward. Potosi Spring Road. Looks like this may be a main gate to the mining area. So we'll continue on up. I don't know if this little branch leads down and around something, but we're going to find out really soon. We're looking again, once again, for the path of least resistance to get to that ridge line straight ahead. And this road that leads down may actually be a better choice. So I'm going to go ahead and take this road here, and this promises to circle around a little lower so we can hit the base of that ridge line a little better. So let's just see if that's true. Here we go. Yeah, if I was in a vehicle, maybe even a four-wheel drive vehicle, I would have parked at Potecy Spring and gone from there. And it does look like we've got somewhat of a direct route to the base of this ridge line. We're going to find out. Here we go. And there's the base, by the way. We're at least closing in on it. Things are looking good. The base, I could go straight for it, or I could head down a little bit. I think that's what I'm going to do, and circle around, because when it comes down to it, dealing with the brush slows you down quite a bit more. And I don't know if there's an intervening canyon somewhere here, so let's just go ahead and continue on this crazy circuitous route and get to that ridge line. And just a minute, you know, I'm gonna just head straight up here. Here we go. Okay, here's pretty direct route to the ridge line, and you can see it ascending right at this point and then continuing on up. Of course, what looks from the bottom like an unbroken easy ascent is often very broken up when you get to it, and that's what we're looking at here. Give you 360. Here we're looking back down toward the Potacy Spring area, and then on around. You can see on the other side of Potosi Canyon Road, the ridge cliff line, and then there's Potosi Canyon Road down in the distance there, circling around, and over to hopefully the south side of Potosi Canyon. Who knows? Okay, so let's head up this area and see if we can find the Ridgeline Ascent. And I don't know if this is an intervening bluff, so we're going to stay low on this, because it may actually be another may end in another canyon, but we'll see what we can do. Here we go. What happens when you take what you feel is a logical route? You come across a use trail, and this could be either animals or humans, but at any rate, it is, and I see hoof marks here, probably both animals and humans, but I see yeah, a definite little trail. We're going to continue on this little use trail, and hopefully that's going to take us up to the ridge, and maybe it'll even take us along the top of the ridge. We don't know, but we're going to find out. Okay, and here we're looking back down on Potecy Spring area. There's that A-frame that we saw when we were down there. And I know that there is a couple that parked there in a two-wheel drive. And so it shows that you can make it in a two-wheel drive, but it's got to be a decent two-wheel drive, probably with good tires. Anyway, yeah, they came from Highway 160 along Potosi Canyon Road. And they're planning to do the same type of thing that I'm doing along the cliff route here. And yeah, this is looking really nice, at least at this point. Hopefully it'll circle around and continue on up. So here we go. Okay, now continuing on up. And yeah, as normal with use trails, they tend to become questionable. And this one is saying, oh, maybe we can go this way around these rocks, or maybe we can go straight up. And I'm going to go for the straight up route because it looks like that's still the way the trail goes. And regardless, you just keep going what's logical. And what ends up happening is a trail will appear and disappear along the most logical route. That's one of my wilderness navigation strategies. And yeah, the view's opening up around the edge of Potosi Mountain. So here we are looking down around back to Potosi Canyon Road, and you can see the whole landscape in the rising sun. This is actually the best view that you will get because the sun's behind us, lighting up this whole landscape. And then you can see Potosi Canyon Road continuing on down around this ridge, and very likely ending at the town of Good Spring. We don't know. So anyway, that's where we are. Let's continue on up. Before, in following the logical route, just looking at the terrain, a trail often appears and then disappears. And so here's a sudden little stretch that turned out like a real honest to goodness trail. And it looks like it definitely can't go that way. That's pretty rugged there. So it tends to be leading up in this direction. And now and then, another feature here is that there are cairns that mark the way. And I lose the trail and then just go the logical route, and then the trail reappears or a cairn reappears. So our goal is to get up to the top of this ridge, look around and see if this will actually lead us along the top of that cliff line. We will find out. And then 360-degree view. Or at least as much as we can do. Of course, there's another ridge line over there into the sunrise. And then looking down, let's sweep down along Potosi Canyon Road area. And there you have it. This is where we are. And now let's head up here, follow the cairns and the logical route, and see if we can ascend up to the summit of this ridge line, and hopefully it'll be easier going once we hit the summit. No promises. Seriously, there continue to be markers, and at this point there's even an arrow. So if this continues, then it's going to be a lot easier going than I thought. But no guarantees. I've seen things like this that look really good, and then they suddenly, everything disappears and you're on your own. Okay, onward. Okay, continuing on up, there continue to be some cairns marking the way, and it looks like we're heading up here, and the trail continues on up, and my guess is that we top the ridgeline up ahead and then take a left and continue on up toward Potosi Mountain summit. We are at about 5,800 feet. There's 3,000 feet between us and the summit, so I don't know how far we're going to get, but let's continue on up. Okay, we have reached the center of the ridgeline, and you can see the view. Here's the view west and down Potosi Canyon Road, and you see it breaks off. I don't know what that other road is. There's the fork right down in this area. And you can see Potosi Canyon Road continuing on around to the south side of Potosi Canyon. And you can see on LasVegasAreaTrails.com where we took the south side of Potosi Canyon and we ascended the road system there, which is actually the easiest ascent for Potosi Mountain summit. And it's a good first ascent, so you can look around and just see things from above. But what we're going to do now is, this is a pretty important spot on this ridge, because what you see is a series of cairns, and what they seem to be saying is this is important because this is where you find your way back down the ridge and follow this trail that I came up. So lots of cairns here, and this is what we'll look for on the way back. For now, the cairns are heading us up the ridge, and yeah, there's, let's see if we can see a few of them. Well, I can't see in this camera because there's too much glare, but I'm gonna guess that when you watch the video, you'll be able to see the cairns that are ahead that I'm going to follow now. And we're going to top the ridge. At least I haven't been here before, but I'm going to guess that that's what it's going to do. Curiously, it looks like there is a trail, and a very well built trail. You can see the construction of the the rock base straight ahead. That may be leading up to the old mine. I don't know, but we're not going to the mine. We're heading up. Maybe we'll end up in that spot, but we're heading up along the upper cliff line. So here we go. Continuing on this trail of sorts, and as I look above, it looks like a fairly well constructed area up ahead. You see somebody laid all those rocks that are ahead, and so who knows, maybe they laid this as a trail. Maybe this was the original mule trail up to the mine, and then before they had the railroad and the aerial tram, who knows. The mine did have two periods of time, and one was earlier where the only transportation would have been by mule up this area, and maybe this is from the original mine, but then again it could just be a recent trail construction. But that's a lot of work to lay all these rocks, so I'm not sure that this was recently a recreational trail construction. Okay, onward. Okay, now there are two choices. One is to go in this direction, and as I look at this, it looks like this heads toward the mine. You can see the tailings going down the side of the canyon there. And then if you look closely, you can see the opening to a mine shaft. And it looks like from here, it's probably closed off. But, so that's one direction you can go. Another direction, though, is the one I'm going to take, because that mine direction looks like a dead end. I'm going to take this direction, and hopefully we'll be able to skirt the ridge here. And we just need to remember when we hit, well, it'll be pretty obvious when we hit this caution sign, that's where we take a hairpin turn and head down to that area that where the trail was, and lead us back home. Definitely don't want to be here in the dark trying to pick out the route. So we'll have a turnaround point around 12 or 1. And right now we're at 10. So we got a couple hours to go up. We've got 2,500 feet ascent still. And, you know, it'd be nice if this surface continued all the way up. But, you know, no promises, because we're passing the original mine area. And the reason to create a trail was due to the mine, actually. Not for me. So anyway, let's continue on around here, and then we'll head up. It looks like there's a little cairn up here, and this may be an indication of a climber's approach, but I'm going to head around this way and then look for a way up. Here we go. Come on, I'm going straight up this ridge where that cairn was. Another thing I just saw is Potosi's south summit. You can see communication towers on this hill right in the center. And that's about a mile from the north summit. So I'm still thinking that, yeah, we continue up this area here, up this ridge, and then either head to the top of that and continue along, or skirt around the edge. We don't know. We're going to find out. Here we go. Okay, now some choices. We need to get around this bluff straight ahead and then navigate along the top of those cliffs. And I don't know, I'm not seeing a natural way around this side. Maybe down a little lower and then on up. I don't know. This may be an experimentation day to work out this part, this stretch of the route. So yeah, you can see Potosi Canyon Road below us, and there, almost directly below, is the Potecy Spring area. And you may be able to see the A-frame house down there. I can't see, oh, there it is. Yeah, right in the center. A lot of glare on this screen. And then you can see Potosi Canyon Road ascending all the way to Potosi Pass, where we were some time ago, a couple hours ago probably. So now the deal is how to get up above these cliffs. And yeah, we just don't know. So there's going to be a lot of experimentation here. It'll take a little time. It may eat up our time for today, and we need to return once we've figured this section of the route. Okay, onward. Well, this bluff ahead has quite the head wall. I don't think I want to go over that, but I'm wondering if there isn't a route around the base on the left side. So we're going to continue on up and look for that potential route around this bluff. And I think when we get above the bluff, we may even be able to see the summit of Potosi Mountain. And here's where we are, Potosi Canyon Road below, Potecy Spring right above this tree in the foreground. And then just looking around, here's the view from up here. By the way, right down in this area, here's Potosi Mine from above, and you can see the tailings. See if I can nail it without, let's see. Yeah, there it is, right in this area. Right above those tailings. Okay, continuing on up, looking for the way around this bluff. Here we go. There's the head wall on the bluff right above us. And it looks like, yes, there is a route around the left side, north side of this bluff here. And what we're looking at straight ahead is a cairn marking the way. You definitely can't count on these. You've got to really look at the overall landscape and navigate by the landscape and not looking for the next cairn or trail, because all of those appear and disappear. So it's nice to see them now and then, because it lets you know you're basically on track. I've been coming up an area that looks like there's footprints of bighorn sheep. I definitely don't want to make that my standard for where I am, because I've seen bighorn sheep go straight up the side of a cliff and and straight down the side of a cliff over the edge. Definitely not something I want to do or copy, but I need the more tame human route, and it looks like I might be on that. We'll take a look and see. We'll continue on a bit more. On rounding that bluff, we find ourselves on a makeshift trail here. I don't know if it goes up this way or straight across. We're going to find out. But anyway, what we see as our first view of Potosi Summit. You can see the communication towers up there, straight ahead. And it's about, in elevation, we're looking about 2,000 feet above where we're standing right now. So, yeah, maybe 2,200 feet. So, we continue on. I think that, it looks like what I need to do is take this cliff line up ahead and continue on that cliff line, and then you can see a ridge line behind. So hopefully we can get to this next bluff here, get to the top of it, and we're on the cliff line then. But no guarantees. I've never been here before, and so we'll just see as we go. Here we go. Well, I'm going to actually call this the Potosi West Trail because there is actually a trail here. Once you get around the side of this first bluff, a trail appears, and it actually takes you around the side of the bluff and then on to the next bluff and continuing on toward the summit. Let's get a view of the summit, which is coming into sharper view up ahead. Beautiful pine forest here. Much more forested than the other side of Potosi Mountain. And there you have it. In fact, you can see the two summits here. There's the northern summit of Potosi Mountain. And over this direction is what I call the southern summit, or the mid summit, actually. There are towers, communication towers on each of the three summits. And there's a south, mid, and north summit with towers on them. So, boy, that'd be amazing if this trail would continue on. But once again, you really can't guarantee it. And it's disappeared and reappeared a few times already. But let's continue on. What a beautiful area this is. Perfect day. It's mid-November, and the temperature in the Las Vegas Valley is predicted to be 79 degrees. Second Saturday in November, which is pretty amazing. The only downside is the days are getting shorter. So we definitely don't want to be trying to get down off this ridge in the dark. So we'll continue on maybe another hour or two and then turn around. We're about 2,200 feet, maybe 2,100 feet below the summit up ahead. Wouldn't you know it, I lost the trail again. But what I'm going to do, anytime I lose the trail, I just go to logic. I'm either on trail or logic. And so now I'm on logic. And logic says that the next thing we do is head for this next bluff, which I'm going to do now. And hopefully we'll see the trail again by the time we get to that bluff. And then just looking at the cliff line, here you can see the ridge line. This is above that cliff line that we were looking at earlier from below. And you can see all three summits now. There's Potosi Northern Summit. And then continuing along the ridge line, there's Potosi Mid-Summit and communication towers on each. And if you look at the Potosi Mountain South page on Las Vegas area trails, you can see how we took the road, the maintenance road, up from the Good Springs area, and you can see parts of the maintenance road. In fact, here's the Potosi South summit. You see communication towers up there, and then you can see the line of that maintenance road about halfway up that ridge below the towers. And then continuing on around, that maintenance road actually continues on the along the ridge here, and I believe that the pass, when you get to the top of that maintenance road, is right in this area. And then you head straight down, and I mean straight down, to the Good Springs area. And then continuing around, you can see southwest of Potosi Mountain. And here's that first bluff that we circumvented on the nice trail that we just lost. And here is the second bluff. I bet that nice trail actually goes, is up at the top of this bluff and then continues on the saddle right up there to the next bluff. So I bet if I were to go straight up, which I won't do because I want to be more diagonal and hit that saddle right up in this area. But I bet if I were to go straight up to the top of this bluff, I would find that trail again. And on the way back, yes, maybe it'll be easier to stay on the trail. We don't want to lose it on the way back, definitely. Okay, because we won't have all these great landmarks to look at on the way back. We'll just be looking at ridges. And, here you can see a very distinct ridge line up to the goal, which is the summit. And whether we make that goal today or not, at least we know we are on the western route to the summit. And it looks very doable. Okay. In fact, it's class 2, easy class 3. It's been the whole way. So it's just like pretty much like a trail, a mountain trail, instead of a climbing situation, which is, so far, no promises what the future holds, but so far it's been that way. Very, very easy. And next time I come, I'll skirt the bottom up to this point a lot sooner, and maybe it'll be in the spring, and I'll start earlier in the day, and the day will be a little longer, give me the time that I need to get up to the summit. But for now, let's see how far we can get in another hour or so. Here we go. Okay, yeah, we are definitely on that ridge line that we were looking at from below. And you can see if we look almost straight below, we're looking down into the Potosi Canyon area. There's that red A-frame on Potacy Canyon Road, and that's in Potecy Springs. And yeah, so here we are, and I was thinking I was going to see evidence of the trail reappear up on this saddle. Not seeing that, but I tell you, the views up here, as I was predicting, we are skirting the the top of those cliffs, the cliff line. And there's a sheer drop right on the other side of me here. This is definitely the cliff. And then you can see Potosi Canyon Road down in the distance. Now, up ahead here is one of the openings that I thought could be an earlier ascent. Let's take a look from on top and see if indeed this opening up ahead could be an ascent. Now, it could also be just, going over the edge of a cliff here. So we don't know, but yeah, there it is going down. And boy, you'd maybe need to have a little more climbing skill than I have to tackle this type of area. But we'll keep looking as we round the corner. This up ahead, right in the center here, may be that ridge that I ascended last week on what I called the Potosi North Trail page of Las Vegas area trails. I believe I ascended this ridge and then circled around the edge of the cliff line right up at the top of that ridge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's it, which means that yes, the potential summit route, if there is a summit route up the cliff side, it would be right in this area. Just a moment, let's go a little further and check this out from above. Yeah, if this were truly a summit route, I'd expect a cairn up here to mark the place where climbers would then descend. I don't know. I'm not especially liking the idea of this as a summit route. However, it does look like, yes, this is actually a route that takes you down. It's tempting to take the return trip down this area. I don't think I'm going to do it because I haven't gone up this area, but maybe I'll come up from below and give it a try. It does not look impossible though. It looks like this would actually take you down to that ridge line just ahead and then back down to Potosi Canyon Road, saving a lot of time. But I just don't know what the nature of the descent is here. We'll see. Anyway, it would be up this way and then you're along this area continuing on. I'm not seeing the trail as I thought I'd see in the saddle. So yeah, I guess that trail did disappear, but we continue on the logical route. And yeah, the more I look at this, I'm thinking this is indeed a summit route. We'll either descend today by this route. I don't think so though, because I haven't seen what's below here. I may return and ascend from the the bottom from Potosi Canyon Road and try this out. I think it's doable, actually. So anyway, there you have it. Another potential summit route right here. Shorter summit route. Get you up to this point up here, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's continue on toward the summit, see how far we get, and see if we can find that trail again. The next stretch around that bluff, the next bluff that we just reached, and yeah, I'm seeing a lot of broken up land here. I think I'm gonna stick close to that cliff edge on the left up ahead and see if we can navigate around over to the next bluff area. And once we do that, then we need to navigate over toward the summit based on how much time we've got left today. There's the summit. So, and this is the area that we need to navigate to get there. We want to stay as high as we can along the way so that we don't have a lot of ascent and descent, save us from this canyon ahead. So I think we get up to this area up here, find a way around it, and then work our way up to the next ridge line. And then it looks like it's pretty straight going till you nearly reach the summit. And there's an ascent area right there. We don't know, how to get up that yet, but maybe there's a little trail. You never know. Okay, let's do a 360 degree from where we are. And you've seen the summit. Here is the south summit. The mid summit is not visible at this point. And continuing along the ridge line, here is the area where Potosi Road, the south maintenance road, heads down, straight down. And then you can see mountains in the distance. And these are future summits that we're going to look at in the coming months or years. And we'll want to identify these and stand on these summits. Here's another little range that we want to explore at some point, depending on how close you can get to it. And then again, here is that area where I'm thinking is a potential summit approach, an opening in the cliff. And then here we are looking at the this bluff up ahead, but we're heading around and over to the next bluff, get up to that ridge line, and then look toward the summit. I don't know if the best route is below the cliff here or above. We'll find out when we get beyond and are looking back, if we do get beyond. If you are below, then you want to be hugging this cliff line pretty closely as you navigate around the edge. So we'll see as things open up. And there you have the summit of Potosi Mountain. about 2,000 feet below the summit right now. Niche in the cliff. Looks like a great place to spend the night. And just imagine the view you would have from this location. The night sky and the horizon. What an amazing place to spend the night. You might just come up here just for that, or make it a 2-day trip up to the summit. Okay, let's continue around the edge of this, see if we can circumvent this cliff area and continue onward. Okay, this looks like another potential summit route from further around the cliff area. And yeah, we may try this at some point, but it looks like there's a little summit trail down in this area that heads downward. So lots of potential summit routes. Here is a little downhill, class 3.5, and there's the next high point up ahead, and then around beyond that to the summit ridge, the final ridge that approaches the summit. I am going to stop here for today because I don't think I would make it much more toward the summit. But it's interesting to see these potential summit routes. And you can see them from the top of the cliff area. That area right below, that'd be nice if that area was the ridge that we were on last week when we circled around the edge of the cliff. Because if that's the case, then it's not much of a jog to just head over here and be on top of this ridge system. I might want to be a little lower and see if I can skirt this next high point a little lower, but not sure. That'll be something to piece together in a future adventure, maybe this spring. But this has been awesome to get up to this point and be along the top of the cliffs. And you can see over ahead, you look straight down into Potosi Canyon Road, and Potosi Pass is right there in the center. So it gives you an idea where we are. We got a long ways on the way back. Oh, by the way, here are the Rainbow Mountains in the distance. And we'll be checking those out also in the future. And I think over the edge of the Rainbow Mountains, just to the left of that shiny cliff area, is La Madre Mountain. So there's some more landmarks. But for now, turning around, heading down so we can practice this section of this route. And maybe in the future we'll try some of these other potential approaches to the summit of this ridge. We're only about 1,900 feet from the true summit of Potosi Mountain. So we've come a long ways, and we've got a long ways to go to get back. Okay, here we go. This is really working well on the way down. there has been a trail almost all the way down up to this point. There is the Potacy Springs area right down there where that A-frame is, and that's Potosi Canyon Road over there. So what we see here is a trail, and this trail, I've been following it all the way down. Didn't find it on the way up, but wow, it's a great trail. I've been following all the way down from that point where that shot up sign was, and where you could see Potosi Mine. And so let's see how this continues to descend. And Potecy Spring Road is right down here. So we're just above Potosi Spring Road. And then it's an easy shot over to Potosi Canyon Road and then back. So, wow, this is going to cut off a whole lot of time next time, and I'll need it to make that final 2,000 foot ascent to the summit. Okay, onward. It's continuing to wind, the trail is continuing to wind down to a couple beat up, shot up signs. Here's one, and then the other is right across the way at Potassium Spring Road, which we know connects with Potosi Canyon Road. So this trail actually, if you're coming up from Potosi Spring area, you just take Potosi Spring Road until you see this sign here, and then you head across to this sign, and then you just head up this trail. It'll take you right up the to the upper edge of the cliff, where you can climb that right on top of the cliff, and there's a trail. There is no climbing above class 2.5, and so it's a very easy and could be a fast approach. It's only been about an hour and 20 minutes since I started down, and that potentially means that I could be back from my high point in, back to my car, the Beast, in about 3 hours from the high point, and took me about 5 hours coming up. So I bet I could do it next time in 4 hours or less going up, just by finding this trail and then just staying on this great trail. And it takes you all the way up to the edge of the cliff ridge, where you can then ascend that ridge at the first spot where you see Potosi Mine and another shot up sign, and then just stick to that ridge. And yeah, so anyway, this looks like a really nice route to take to summit Potosi Mountain. Okay, onward. Potosi Spring Road, but just to show you where that great trail begins is you want to shoot for this sign that's all shot up. And you'll see the beginning of the trail, and you'll take that trail right up the side of this ridge, and that trail will guide you all the way easily to that western ridge, and then go ahead and ascend the western ridge. If you've got a great four-wheel drive, you could park it right here, save yourself a lot of extra pain and suffering. I've got 5 more miles on foot to get back to Highway 160. So yeah, if you had a good four-wheel drive vehicle, you could park it right here, and then you're all fresh. You head up that trail and you ascend the ridge, and you just continue along the top of the ridge, and you'd probably make the summit in about 4 or 5 hours. I don't know for sure because I haven't done the last 2,000 feet elevation gain, but I suspect it would take about 4 or 5 hours to get up to the summit, and then maybe 4 hours to come back down to this point. So you're looking at about 9 hours in total, heading for Potosi Mountain summit from this location here. And if you parked down by Potecy Spring, which is not too far from this area, you'll just add another 15 minutes or so, because this road is pretty gnarly. But anyway, yeah, that's how to head up the western route for Potosi Mountain summit. And we'll do that not too far into the future, probably this spring. Okay. Here we are at Potecy Spring, just to give you an idea of timing. If you take away the time I spent on the video and taking pictures, it probably took about 1 hour and 15 minutes from the high point to get back down to this point. And the reason is that I found the trail all the way down, which is really good. This is all that's left of Potassium Spring, by the way. Not a whole lot. About a month ago, there was, maybe 2 months ago, there was still water in Potassium Spring, but it's finished right now. Anyway, yeah, the trail took us up to the cliff area, and then we just began to skirt the cliffs. And there were a couple openings that we saw when we were up there. And one of the openings, I think, was right up in this area. Another opening up in this area. So yeah, there are a number of potential approaches. In fact, this is the one that looks the most promising. So you could actually start from here and head straight up this area right up to there. And that looks like the most promising approach. It would cut off some distance, but that's a lot of navigation in the rocks and the washes. And so it's a real toss-up whether that would actually save you more time than just taking Potacy Spring Road to where the great trail, the Western Trail, connects, and then just circling around and heading up that trail and up the just on the other side of the cliffs there, and you get to the same spot So yeah, you get to the same spot and it may be about the same amount of time. We don't know. Eventually we'll try this direct route and just compare. And then there's this direct route also. So between this route and this route are the two most promising routes to the summit of this cliff line. And I think that second one there, this is where I was about an hour and 15 minutes ago. So coming down, yeah, it took about an hour and 15 minutes. And I bet it could take, if you tried to go directly, it could take about that same amount of time. We don't know. We'll try it at some point. And there, of course, is the ridge that we took to the Potosi North Trail, which has other options up to the summit area. So, lot of options here. And eventually we'll try them all. But for now, we're heading back. There's Potosi Canyon Road. We've got 700 feet to ascend and then about 1,100 feet to descend. On the descent, we'll be running. And so it took about an hour and a half to get to this point from Highway 160. I'm predicting maybe an hour and 15 minutes to return. We'll see. Recap of ways to get up above the cliff line. You've got this ridge. We took this last week. And there's a good trail, Potosi North Trail. Goes around the corner of that cliff line and at the base of the cliff line. And I think there are ways to ascend from there. We don't know. But then there's also this area here looks like a potential ascent. And then over here, potential ascent. And maybe over here, potential ascent. And then here's looking down the cliff line to the base where we found that trail. I'll call it the Potosi West Trail. And took us up to, the top of the cliff line. And we then began to navigate that cliff line above. So there you have it. We've got about, I'd say about an hour. We'll be back at the car at the intersection of Potosi Canyon Road and Highway 160. East. And curiously, it only took me 3 hours to get back from that high point, about 2,000 feet below Potosi Mountain summit. So, yeah, coming back is a lot faster, definitely, because it's downhill. And I was running the last 1,000 feet downhill from Potosi Pass. So now we're headed back, and I guess the total time today was about 5 hours up and 3 hours back. And probably I could have taken off about an hour for the video and then another half hour to an hour for figuring out and piecing together the route on the way up. So we're looking at a round trip of probably about 6 hours if you just go for it from this point, and you're not stopping for anything. So anyway, there you have it. Potosi Mountain West approach, summit approach, and we discovered the Potosi Mountain West Trail.